Hi, everybody. It's Erica from In the Company of Cards. Welcome back. Welcome. Delighted you're here. Would love it if you liked, share, subscribe. Okay, I get that all out of the way. I did just finish writing my Substack. So that's the article that I write on Wednesdays. So if you are not following me on Substack, I would love it if you would do that. Just go to www.substack.com and look for In the Company of Cards. You'll find me there, or you'll find me under my name. So, I wanted to look at just a few things since I'm kind of written out, but I thought I would come on briefly. So, the first thing I'd like to look at is this guy named Ed Martin. And really, what I wanted to do is make an observation about language before I look at him. So, we know that the Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Defense, Homeland, whatever, Homeland Defense, whatever. Anyway, she doesn't know well, she acted like she didn't know what habeas corpus meant, the writ of habeas corpus, which is the obligation of the government to produce a reason for why someone is being charged or detained. She said it meant sort of the opposite, that habeas corpus was the right of the president to arrest and detain anybody he feels like it. Obviously, that's not true. It was the opposite. So I was struck when I read an article about this guy, Ed Martin. He was a, lawyer of you know who. And he's now been named to a new department in the Justice Department, a new arm of the Justice Department that is actually called, of all things, he is the Weaponization Czar. Now, ostensibly, a la Kirsty Noam, ostensibly, this is an office meant to ferret out uh, anyone who tried to weaponize the judicial system against 47, ostensibly. But really, the weaponizations are what he's going to do is use the legal system, and weaponize the legal system against citizens. And he actually said out of his mouth, this guy, Ed Martin, he said, there will be no limit to the targets. So this will be people in public life, in private life, anyone whom he deems, in his office deems, saying something that it would be in disagreement or in opposition to you know who can be pulled in for questioning, for arrest, for, I don't know, I guess, deportation. So we have an actual guy whose job that is. Ed Martin, weaponizations are. So I guess I just want to see how's that going to go. I'm just going to pull 5 cards. I'll let Spirit pick all of them. How is this weaponization department going to go moving forward? Pretty scary, I grant you. Okay, so we'll pull 5 cards. Department of Weaponization. Come on. Well, I mean, I'm just going to say 47 loves it. It is an answer to all his problems. How do I get rid of people I don't like? Um, Money, of course, will be involved. Remember, one of the things that now he supposedly is investigating is whether uh, Harris gave Beyonce some exorbitant amount of money in order for her to perform, and investigating Springsteen, et cetera. So this is all about money. It's going to move forward, yes, but then this question of what happens with it remains to be seen. Remember, the book is about things we don't know, but I'm going to push the envelope a little bit. He loves it. I'm going to push the envelope a bit and just ask that book card if it can unlock itself at all. So, on the surface of it, it's meant to sound benign, not as aggressive and attacking of the population as it is. But over time, the tree, it'll prove to be just another weapon that he uses against the populace. So look out for that. Ed Martin, the weaponization czar. Again, it's like a reverse argument. He wants to find anybody who he thinks during the election cycle weaponized media, weaponized government, weaponized anything law against 47. But really, it's about weaponizing government against people. Okay, Ed Martin. I heard uh, in topic number two, I heard through the grapevine that there is trouble in paradise between you know who and RFK Jr. I have seen in the past that Hegseth would be gone, you know, before a year is out, but that Robert Kennedy Jr. would be the first one out. So let's see. How are things going between these two men? I think I will let Spirit take the lead on all of this. I don't know if you heard of the COVID news, but the latest on COVID is that, instead of everybody being able to get the shot who wants the shot, now they've turned that on its head, meaning if you want to get the shot, you won't be able to get the shot, the immunization, unless you meet certain criteria, certain health criteria, certain age criteria. I'm safe because I'm old, so good. But you can't just get this shot now at will moving forward. If you don't meet those criteria, you can't get the shot. So you know what? RFK Jr. needs to be gone. But let's just see. I just like to know, how's the relationship going? Is everybody friends? Is everybody happy? Let's see. How are things going between RFK Jr. and you know who? Because I did not pull a significator, I didn't select a center card. Um, it will be very interesting to see what Spirit has decided the center card should be. Well, I'm going to say this. I've told you this before. The cards are the cross, the birds, the key, the dog, and the rider. Whenever a line, this is traditional, this is not me making this rule up. Whenever a line starts with the cross, they say that the question's kind of a non-starter. Um, I think the question's a non-starter because I think it's a given. I think that Robert Kennedy will not be um, helping you know who forward his agenda in the way that he would like. RFK's quite the loose cannon. Not that you know who is not, but I think their agendas are different. So um, there is a lot of, there have been a lot of meetings between the teams. I think that, I also think that RFK doesn't know, his left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So he'll get grilled about certain things being eliminated or understaffed or unstaffed. And he'll say, "Oh, I don't know anything about that. I have no idea. My office did it." What do you mean your office did it? Aren't you the head guy? So there's a lot of buzz in the White House about whether or not RFK is more trouble than he's worth. Now, remember I said whatever's going to be in the middle would be interesting. It's the key. The key answers questions, so I am going to draw a clarifier or two on this key. Uh, you know, uh, you know who has wanted to keep RFK on side as an ally, as a friend. He had what, 15% of the vote, apparently, and so that's why 47 promised him a cabinet level job so that his voters would move over to you know who. So he's wanted to keep him on side, but the message coming, I can mirror it with the first card. I do think there's trouble in paradise, but let's pull some clarifiers. I know I want to pull clarifiers on this key. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, and then we'll pull on the dog and we'll pull on the rider. Okay. Well, and I know there's buzz, but I'm just going to pull one card on that cross and then one card on the birds. Okay. So, as for the cross, you know, this is you know who, it is most narcissistic. If everything is not advantaging him, then whoever's not advantaging him has to go. If RFK Jr. proves problematic, you know who will pull a bullying move and just kick him to the curb. Or it's, what is the buzz? What is the talk? That he really doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's signing. He doesn't know what's being done in his name. Uh, RFK, he seems a little bit confused about a lot of things, and that's not a good look in your health secretary. Remember, I said the center card is all important, and how interesting that it's the key, because this will answer our question. The clarifiers are crossroads, clouds, and clover. Yes, these two men are at cross purposes. They're not seeing eye to eye. There is confusion and obfuscation and difficulty between them. And I think not too long from now, because this is a fast card, I think that RFK will be given the boot. In terms of whether or not he is a loyal ally, I think you know who doubts that mountain there. And in terms of what this is going to do to his administration, his the government, the way he's trying to run it, um, you know who is saying, "Wait, what's he doing? I don't get it. Why is he for this, but he's not for that? Why did he cut that off, but then say we should fund that?" For example, he talked about how important it is for school children to have healthy food and all the crap that's in, the food needs to go and they need to eat fresh stuff. Well, that's great, except for one problem. His office eliminated the very programs which feed kids good, healthy, organic, homemade type food. So which one is it, Robert? And this is causing a problem for you know who. So, uh, news coming in. I don't know, he may appoint a woman instead. And, uh, fish, there'll be a lot of feelings around this. I don't think this is money so much as feelings. But he will do it, who will do it in a very slick, sly way. But I do think that RFK, speaking of slide, is on the slip and slide on the way out. And I'm not saying that what we get will be any better, because, for example, that Surgeon General nominee, that Casey person, I've read on her before, she's problematic. She's problematic. So uh, expect to see some changes in that department. I don't think that RFK Jr. is long for his job. So he'll have more time to splash in cesspools or wherever he was swimming with his grandchildren. Disgusting. Okay. Um, a longtime viewer and supporter of my work asked me to look at this next question, and so I will. And she said, so Vicky, this is for you. She talked about weather anomalies, ugly storms and earthquakes and hurricanes and all kinds of stuff that are coming out, they're starting a little bit ahead of season. Hurricane season doesn't start until uh, June 1st. Not that the weather is required to wait for a date certain on the calendar, but it's been a little weird with there being some really ugly weather out there. And what this viewer wants to know, Vicky, is whether or not the collective anger that everybody is feeling, together with who's just cruelty, whether this is affecting weather patterns. I think it's a really interesting question. And I'm going to use clouds because that will stand for unstable weather patterns. Um, everything is connected and everything is energy. So I don't think it's an off the wall question. I think it's a very interesting question. Is the current zeitgeist, um, the current the current political social climate affecting the weather to the extent that we've had some pretty bad weather events in advance of things like hurricane season? Okay, so let's see. So we're going to use clouds as standing for the weather. And we just want to know, is this some kind of weird energetic thing where nature is responding to the zeitgeist? Okay, so, oops, sorry. So we're looking for clouds. You know who shows up, so I think we already know the answer to our question here. Well, so we have the young man, we have who, we have these weather anomalies, we have the bouquet, and we have the coffin. Uh, I'm going to say yes, that because otherwise, why is he showing up? I think that the level of aggression that we feel just in the culture, um, fostered and encouraged by who, is indeed affecting the weather. You know, Mother Nature is a gift to us, but I think she's kind of over it. And I'm going to pull some clarifiers, I think. So I'm going to pull So on this weather itself, um, moving forward, I mean, this is good. Stork is positive change, and then the dog is a very friendly card. You know, I think you get what you give. Mother Nature would love to be a friend to us, but we're not being very friendly to Mother Nature. I'm just saying, you know, um, including with, the curbs on environmentalism that 47 is trying to enact. Digging and um, drilling and all of that other stuff. Um, you know, I think this is Mother Nature saying, could you be a better friend to me so that I can be a better friend to you? Um, this is the gifts and the bounty of our beautiful blue orb that floats in space. Uh, over time, there are consequences for how we treat it. We being all of us. And we are all being overwhelmed by this is another card. This is that narcissistic card um, for you know who. But also, though, this is the card for Mother Nature. So we see her twice here, both in the bear and in the garden. And asking us, is this in the long term what people want? Change your ways. Energy is powerful and everything is connected. I don't love this coffin here, nor do I love this scythe. When we harm Mother Nature, we harm ourselves, which in turn then harms Mother Nature more, which in turn harms us. So this is problematic. And I don't love these two cards. The fish is all about emotion and feeling and energy. Emotions are also a form of energy. And we really don't know. Say, what was that commercial? Be nice to Mother Nature. Because there, or else I forget what the commercial was for, but um, we really do, we think we understand how things are connected and what things are and are not connected. But I'm telling you, this is connected. I think it's a very good question. And I think we are getting all kinds of signals and signs in all kinds of ways that we're moving in a not great direction. We are a country on the decline. And that does not bode well for us, nor does it bode well for the world. And the natural world is part of that. The ecosystem is part of that. So here's two more questions. This was a viewer question, and they asked about a state that I lived in for a long time. So I thought, oh, let me ask this. One of the reasons that I love being in California is that it's a blue state. I mean, there are swaths of it that are not, but it is a blue state. And the state that I'm going to look at is New Jersey. Now, New Jersey is currently blue, but it is creepingly, increasingly red. And this viewer wanted to know with who's thumb on the scale. We've got already Alina Habba as the state attorney. Will New Jersey turn red? Will New Jersey turn red? I'll let Spirit answer the question, and I'll pull three cards because I don't think I need more than that. Will New Jersey turn red? Hmm. I want to say yes. And, there's Alina Habba, But let's, okay, interesting. I didn't pull cards on the key. I didn't really feel like I needed to, but I think this is Alina Habba, putting her thumb on the scale, her big footprint all over everything. I mean, she's the one who is prosecuting the member of Congress, LaMonica. I forget her last name, but um, she's the one doing that. She is doing the bidding of her Dark Lord. That would be the narcissist in chief. And she is a problem for New Jersey. But I think that's not a bad thing. I think she'll be so bad. And I think that her footprint and his footprint will be so heavy in New Jersey that it will cause people to come out and change the script so that it does. I think it's going to stay blue. I really do. I think New Jersey will stay blue. I certainly hope so too. But I think it'll stay blue. I think people will be so turned off by these heavy-handed tactics that when it comes election time, they'll go blue. Now, for my last question, I've only seen part of this. I read the whole transcript though. It's disgusting, but I just thought that I would ask the cards because, you're not here for my opinion. You want to know what the cards have to say. And what I wanted to look at was this meeting that 47 had with the president of South Africa, Ramaphosa. It's Ramaphosa, pronounced Ramaphosa. So we kind of knew in advance. I mean, anybody with a brain, if you remembered the Oval Office flaying of Ukraine's Zelensky, you would probably have been able to um, intuit that should Ramaphosa show up in the Oval Office to explain, um, how things are in South Africa, the fact that they are not full of white South Africans who are in imminent danger and worthy of, uh, you know, sort of special immigration status. Uh, you just had to know that this was going to be, uh, you know, ambush part two, and it was. So what happened was, I don't know, I guess 47 asked him, so, what's going on over there? And then before he could say anything, the he gives a signal, you know who, for the room to be darkened, very dramatic, and for faked old video to be shown. And in this video, you have people, white people, attending funerals of their white relatives. Um, and the claim is that these are white people who were killed because they are white by a, reverse racist, I guess they call that, government of South Africa. Now, I hope I don't have to explain to anybody apartheid, but, look it up if you don't know what it is, because this is just a farce. So I just thought that I would ask, curious what the universe has to say. What was 47's intention in in that meeting with Ramaphosa? What was his intention? Uh, I think I'll use the older man card. No, I'm not going to use it. I'm going to let Spirit figure it out. Uh, let's just see what was his intention. Okay. I mean, I know what it looks like to me, but I am willing to be made wrong by the cards. So, it obviously was an attack. And what's really sad, well, let me just hold up all the cards. Sorry, we have the sight, we have the tower, the heart is in the middle, the book, and then the child. Um, so it was an attack, a, a racist, xenophobic, but more to the point, racist attack on a black country. I mean, listen, it's wholesale warfare on everybody black. Doesn't matter what country you're in. Doesn't matter if you're American, South African, it doesn't matter. He hates us. I mean, he hates us. This was an act of violence. And the worst part about it is the card that I can mirror it with, which is the child card. I suspect that Ramaphosa thought, this is the White House. This is the Oval Office. This is the office of the president. Surely he will not take a machete to me and accuse me of taking a machete to South Africans. Surely not. He was blindsided. He kept his calm, his cool. At one point, what I loved was after this, show and tell, uh, the reporters were allowed to ask questions. And like the first question was, so what about that plane that you just accepted from Qatar? And you know who was furious, furious because he wanted the subject to be. And so he said, he was so angry, and Ramaphosa said, well, too bad I don't have a jet to give you, and like as a bribe. And 47 said, yeah, that is too bad because if you had one, I would take it. Admitting in that bald, bold-faced way that he is susceptible to, um, you know, bribery, well, which we already know. But anyway, it was kind of like it looked bad. It was bullying. It was like a lamb to the slaughter. Not because Ramaphosa is unaware. I just think that, like a lot of the world who thought, surely they won't elect him again. Surely the Supreme Court won't give him unlimited power. Surely not. And yet here we are. So Ramaphosa got blindsided, but you know what it's like if you see somebody bullied, you you know who looks really bad? The bully, not the bullied person. It's the bully who looks bad. And so I think that's what happened here. You know who looked like the rabid racist that he is. That's what he looked like. Ramaphosa looked kind of shocked, but he kept his dignity. So, how'd that work out for you? You know who? Uh, it was the power and might of, yes, the Oval Office, the power, the might, the reputation of the Oval Office that was used against Ramaphosa. Now, the question was, why? Well, the reason is the heart. That's a lovely card, right? Except not here. This is about, this was about theater. And who was the audience for this theater? The audience is, I think there's two audiences. There's people who are sitting in the main gallery, and those would be MAGA, Proud Boys, Nazis, incels, these new immigrants from South Africa, these white immigrants. I'm your guy. I'm your champion. Look what I did to that so and so. Um, and of course, this is a message to the rest of us, which, I mean, my God, it's not like we needed the message. We know how he feels about us being Black people. We know. So this was a gesture of love towards his base. Again, this indicates that Ramaphosa had no idea that he was going to be blindsided in this way. And again, these films were old and doctored. And by the way, were given to him probably courtesy of Musk, the South African, who has a vested interest in, stoking, whose racist flames. Musk says, oh, I'm not going to be giving to campaigns in the large way that I did. I'm going to go back and pay attention to my companies and, tend to Tesla and Starlink, et cetera, et cetera. Don't be fooled. Just because you won't see him on the stage in his baseball cap at, you know, um, cabinet meetings and big events, don't think for a minute that he's not the puppeteer. Ultimately, you know who looks like a dumbass because, again, the reports and the video and all that were faked and doctored, you know? So he looks like the bully that he is, and he looks like the inept bully that he is. But, it was to cut down to size Ramaphosa. It was to scare, frighten, intimidate uh, us. And it was to show love and affection to his base, which includes now those 60 some odd uh, Afrikaner special uh, special immigrants. You know what? That's okay. We know who we're dealing with. It's we know who we're dealing with. Uh, Go read my Substack if you would, not unrelated. And I will see you maybe tomorrow. Who knows? But anyway, happy hump day and take care.